Thank you for joining us. This is Emily Hester, your host from Metaphysical Mississippi. Today we have Christy Littlefield and Kelly Smith, also known as Willow and Kelle. And they're going to talk about being green witches. Well, we're so excited to have you on the show today. If both of you could take turns and just let us know what each of you do and how did your upbringing influence your path?
You can go first. Okay.
Willow, you can go first if you'd like.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess I've always been on this path, and maybe I just didn't know it. But about almost 10 years ago, about 8 years ago, I just realized that I was around a bunch of witches, and my curiosity, somebody asked me if I was a witch, and I was like, they said, are you a green witch? And I said, I like the color blue. And that was my answer, and that's what they said. And then he went on to tell me that that he was a prophet and that I would never be able to love again until I let go of all the hurt. And after I cried all the way home, I came back the next day and talked to a couple of my friends, and they gave me some books. Green Witch by Anne Moore was one of them, and Hedge Witch was another one. And then I kind of continued from there. I started reading, and then what was that book? The Celestial Prophecies? Celestine Prophecies. I always say it wrong. Wow.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Amazing book. Spoke to me. Like, I took, we're talking like a month on each chapter. Like, that was the first time I really, as an adult, just studied. I was just like, wow, I feel this. I connect with this. And then I started joining groups on Facebook, and I met Kelly, and we were vending with True Local Market, and I had started. I'm actually an herbalist, and so all these earthly things, all these things had always been around me, and I knew how to work with these things, and now I know how to work with spirits, and I have a deeper connection to everything that is the earth, to everything that is, humans and animals and plants and trees and barks and roots, and the moon and the cycle and the planets and all the connections, and how we all flow together, and learning how to flow with all of that myself. And I've found a lot of peace. I've found a lot of understanding, a lot of remembering, and a lot of connection. And so that's kind of how I got started, and where I'm at right now.
Oh, wow. Now, when you said you were around witches, how did did they self-identify, or did you just notice that they kind of
No, not at all.
Deep South.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just going to say,
not
10 years ago.
There was a lot of clues, but
that's what
I was just
wondering.
blind to a lot of things, I guess. But I worked at Rainbow Natural Grocery, and so there is a lot of people that are conscious about what they eat. How it's a safe place where people could go and feel comfortable. We have stores that had like fair trade that had stones and crystals, and I didn't realize some of the people that were closest to me, led this path, were practicing, and they were kind of open, but I guess I'm more intrigued now,
You weren't really so much aware then.
Right. And so since I became aware,
now it's like, oh, you and you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of did, it was all me. It was my insides and my higher self speaking to me, and I was deciding to listen, and then I kind of realized what was going on around me. So it was pretty cool.
So you had yourself in a place where they were coming.
Right. I was open and to receive, and I haven't stopped receiving since.
Do you feel that something led you well, you probably do feel something led you there to be there at Rainbow, which I miss so much. I mean, I don't live in the area per se right now, but I have lived in the Jackson area on and off for the past 30 years, and I loved Rainbow.
As an
When
institution.
it was, yes.
Right. It was its own entity in itself, and a lot of beauty came from Rainbow and still does. Like I spoke with a friend of mine, Patrick, that I worked with at Rainbow the other day, and he said that they're getting inducted into the archives and history.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, that's exciting. They were asking for memorabilia, if people had memorabilia to bring up there. So yeah.
I don't even know what's in that building now, but
It's a gym.
Fondren Fitness.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
They work out.
They got good energy to do so.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's still energy.
Right.
Well, Kelly, what about you?
Well, my journey started a very long time ago. I'm 48, and I didn't grow up here in the South. I grew up in Southern California. So just by rights, I was allowed to be more open and ooey and it's just not growing up here in the South, I think, allowed me to start this journey a lot earlier.
Yes.
I was very young. So I think actually me and my family and close friends, we kind of agree. I was probably turned on. My intuition, that part of me, that gut brain, was turned on at birth. So I was born being aware. I was probably about 6. I had my first experience kind of with the paranormal. My grandmother, when she had passed, she came to me, and I was 6, and she had passed away, and my parents came, my stepmom and my dad came to tell me that she had passed, and I said, I know. She came and said goodbye. And they were like, okay. And back up, I grew up in a metaphysical family. So I grew up in a family that was very already open. The Celestine prophecy book that she was talking about was on my shelf. I read that at 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
No joke.
I was 40.
I was 9. I mean, we had the Out on the Limb by Shirley MacLaine. These were all my choices.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Okay, these were my choices. I mean, they were on the bookshelves at home. I mean, this is the house I grew up in, right? So I didn't have to find the information. I didn't have to come across it. It was in my house. So I just started this journey really, really young. But about 8 or 9, we went camping, and I, dug my hand in the big first barrel of crystals, on one of those general stores in Arizona. And that was my love of crystals. Started at 8, 9, 10, and then started collecting and reading everything I can. And in the 90s, there was a surge of popularity of witchcraft. You had Charmed, you had Buffy the Vampire Slayer shows. Yes. It was on, you could find any witchy books at Tower Records at the little book aisle. So it wasn't hidden, right? So I've read everything I could. My cousin happens to actually be an author, a witchy author. Her name is Jamie. It was Jamie Martinez Wood back then. Now it's Jamie Della. But she's been writing since the 2000s. She's actually a literary friend of Christopher Penczak, who is the leader of Temple of Witchcraft, the founder of her school, her witch school. And they're friends. So that world existed to me from the get-go. So I have been practicing for well over 35 years now.
Oh, you're an expert.
But I was always a solitary practitioner. I'm clairsentient empath. So big groups big groups in general aren't a happy place for me. It's a lot. There's a lot. I've learned really young to shield and ground, and so I don't do a lot of big, so especially when you're sharing energy. But as I've gotten and grown in my practice, and even lately, once I met her, I couldn't stay away. So I started doing a lot more But so my journey started a long time ago. And I think that since I met her probably about almost 5 years ago now, I think both of our practices just went whoosh, I don't know if it's our shared energy, but I've become a lot more vocal about it. And a lot more, which is weird. I didn't feel like I had to hide in California. I moved here 20 years ago. So that was very strange coming to Mississippi as a non-Christian, as a practicing witch. And we moved to Jackson first for me. I met my husband, he's from here. So we lived here and that was great. But then we moved to Purvis, which is just south of Hattiesburg, very kind of a rural. We were there for 10 years. I was miserable. I hid all my stuff under my bed. I didn't have an altar out where I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable at all. And we moved back up here for his job. That's when I met Christy about 5 years ago. And I went right straight to back to Rainbow, because that was, that's where it's funny that Rainbow kind of was the center of where everybody that kind of lived in this little world, they went. So it's kind of like that kind of Rainbow was kind of the draw a little bit for a lot of us to meet. I mean, that's how we met. And even if you were a solitary practitioner or whatever, you went to Rainbow to get your herbs or because you were more in tune with cycles and nature. You were more aware of your footprint on the earth.
Yeah, we had over like 350 herbs. We had a herb wall in the back of the store. And that's where I worked after a year working there. That's where they put me,
You're speaking, I mean, I never identified as a witch because I was kind of, Christian. I grew up with a lot of Christian, you don't mess with that stuff. And I'm easing up on the fear. The fear
was given to you, so you forgot your knowledge.
Yes.
It was there to stop you. From
fear. That is one thing. Yeah. And that's only within the last month have I realized to open myself up. It was fear that kept me away.
Which actually is from the term Wicca, WICCE, Wicca. Not Wicca, the religion that came from Gerald Gardner in the 60s, but the actual Old English term Wicca, WICCE. That means wise one. Then that became witch. A witch before pre-Christianity, a witch was a wise one, somebody who practiced the ways of herbs.
Ooh, that gave me chills when you're talking.
Because it's real, babe. This is real knowledge. When Christianity started, they had to find a way to stop the pagans from practicing their own religion. They wanted them to be Christians. So the easiest way was to put Christian holidays right on top of a pagan holiday. And then start like, okay, now we're and take a lot of the familiar things that pagans were familiar with, implemented them into a Christian faith. And that's how they were able to, convert so many people. And then if you didn't convert, they just killed you. So, I mean, that was a way. It was fear-based. It was forced. And so now we're looking at thousands of years later, you have people like you're like, oh, just a couple months ago, I started letting go of the fear that was placed on you thousands of years ago. So it was a way to forget knowledge. It was fearful because they were afraid that these people were more knowledgeable, more powerful. But all pagans wanted to do was just practice their way of life. It wasn't a religion. It's not a religion. It's a way of living.
Well, I stepped away from organized religion. I mean, I put my big toe in it in all different types of. But I am still. My book is the Bible, but when okay, my sister tells me all the time that I am a witch already. So
there are Christian witches. There are people that identify as Christian witches.
Because I will say a prayer or I'll ask, and then I just open the Bible and it gives me an answer that's specific to the question. you know, I've
and that's your practice, and that's
yes,
perfect.
and that's what I realized. That I mean, I do have a connection. I have a walk. I don't really need to go through I don't need a channeler. I'm already channeling it.
Yeah.
Is that
totally? And see, the thing is, that's where you're aware of the changing of the seasons and your place here on Earth, in the planet, in the universe. So you're awake, but you have chosen, your word is the Bible, but you're walking a different walk. Like and it's all perfect because it works for you. And see, that's the great thing about this practice, is that it's personalized. Everybody has their personal journey.
And you can ask any witch what it means to be a witch.
They'll have a different answer.
Everyone will have a different answer because
it's personal.
It's your perspective. Mm-hmm. It's the way you feel about, your spirituality and what makes you comfortable, not worrying about what the fuck anybody else thinks, know? Sorry.
No. Don't you wish we figured, I mean, like I said, I'm only really figuring this out in the last month. Don't you wish we would have figured this out years ago?
I did.
Right.
I mean, you did. Great. Yeah.
I've had to uncondition myself a lot.
I think what happens in some people's journeys is, excuse me, my dog is talking to me. I think in everybody's journey, I think it depends on how closed the family was. So no matter what organized religion you were practicing, if you were open-minded about it, it didn't matter. All these things can come in. The realizations, the recognizing, that's not a word, but recognizing others like-minded around you, right? But if you grew up in a closed house that was closed off to anything other than what was familiar, you had your journey didn't start till you were an adult and able to make your own decisions.
Right.
And so I think I grew up in a very open house. I also grew up in Southern California.
Right.
It's very different for y'all growing up here in the South. Yeah. Very different.
I grew up Southern Baptist and Catholic. My dad's side, Southern Baptist. My mom's side is Catholic. And I always really moved more towards the Catholicism because of the rituals and the the incense, and I'm a bit of a hippie, so I always grew up with herbs in my life, and I don't know, I went through Catholicism school, the RCIA, I went through it twice because I was like, I don't know if I really got what I was supposed to, so I went through it again and even taught Sunday school and different things, but the more I tried to connect with the Bible, the more I felt like a bad person. The more I felt like
you were doing
wrong. I was fearful. The more I felt like being a woman was shameful. The more I didn't connect in that sense. And so I just had to stop. I had to find different avenues.
And I grew up in an unchristian home. It wasn't, right. It was a metaphysical home. We dealt more with kind of like spiritual energy. It was very metaphysical. My parents had a metaphysical group. They had their own metaphysical meetup group.
Wow.
That's how I grew up, so I didn't have Christianity. When I was born, my mom, I was baptized and Lutheran and everything, but we didn't go to church. Yeah. And then when I was 6, I started living with my stepmom and dad after my parents got divorced. And we were like a very metaphysical home. So I didn't have a lot of the Christian knowledge. I know all the stories because everybody knows all the stories, but there was nothing for me to unlearn.
Right. Well, and mine was just, we didn't go all the time. I lived with my mom, a single mother, mom was a single mother, and we would go, on holidays, we would go to church. Yeah. It wasn't until I was an adult and I'd experienced a loss in my life, in my community, that really drove me to be like, hey, there's what's up? What's going on? What's really going on? Or are we all to just just be robots? And is it all just, it just couldn't be the chaos that it was. And so, you know, I guess I'm fortunate that I was surrounded by the people that I was. I mean, and as an adult, I sought out that spirituality, and I embraced the Catholicism. And then and there were moments that I felt love, and I connected with Jesus, and, but that was just me. It wasn't about, being in the church, and it wasn't anything to do with the Bible. And it was just me and prayer. And, so I just started going inside. And the more I go inside and be quiet and listen, and like meditation's really come a big part of my life, and it's helped me with so much. It's because it forces you to look at yourself and see how your life is and the direction that it's going, and how you cause your own chaos, and how anger affects you, and how fear affects you, and how jealousy and resentment affects you. And it causes you to look and see, why do you feel this way about other people? And it's usually me. It's like the way you see other people is a reflection of yourself.
It's your perception,
right? And it all comes back to the heart and coming out of the ego. And I know I'm probably mixing a lot of things up right now, but
I love it.
For me, it's really helps. It really helps me get out of here and get into here. And this is where it all comes from, and this is where it all comes back to, you know, and just being able to, learn how to react to things better. And I don't know, it's I love my life. I love it. I create my own path and my own destiny, and it unfolds. And that doesn't mean chaos doesn't happen, but that just means that how I handle
how
it,
you react to it,
right? And how when we do react crazy, that we overcome it.
My cousin said something, to go back to the prayer thing.
Yeah,
like my cousin just said something recently, and that was like, holy crap. And it actually kind of like shows that like universal love energy or prayer or spells, rituals, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same thing. So she said that like rituals or spells in the witchcraft community are just prayer in 3D. They're just prayer in 3D. Whereas in prayer in Christianity, you're praying and you're just using your mind to God, or you're praying your words. But a ritual or a spell, getting your crystals and your herbs and your correspondences together, is just a prayer in 3D.
Right. You're putting more energy in it. You're putting more of that intention into it,
So it kind of makes it more relatable to somebody who doesn't understand. Like ritual seems scary. Ritual seems evil. It's magic. It's witchcraft. It's evil. It's just prayer in 3D. We've taken things that match the intention, your intention or your prayer.
Yes.
And you take correspondences. So like, say if I want to pray for peace in my house.
Right.
I'm going to grab some blue lace agate for calming communication, some sodalite for communication, amethyst for healing, right? So I'm grabbing stones that correspond to that. Then I grab my herbs that correspond to that. Then I grab a color candle that corresponds to it, or one of my candles, because I'm a candle maker. Twin Moon Magic.
Wonderful.
But so they're intention candles. So it's that you gather the things that can help like make your prayer bigger, right? Make your wish bigger, make the energy more, because you've grabbed all these things that have that energy, right? So you're building the energy, and then you light your candle and pray.
Do you feel that you still can be heard if you're not doing that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Do you feel that God hears your prayers without anything?
Yeah.
Even if it's like oh my gosh, a one-off, or you're whispering it like before you go into something scary or whatever. You're not doing the whole ritual. You're not getting on your knees. You're not doing your palms. Does he hear you any differently?
Right.
With a whispered fast prayer, a fervent prayer, or like a very deep thought out prayer. He hears you all the same, right? That's
yes. Yeah.
So for me, it's energy. It's universal energy. I believe so you have all the pantheons of the different gods and goddesses throughout the world. They're different because we speak different languages. They're different because we have different culture, but it's the same energy.
Right.
So the love energy, which you could have Mother Mary, you could have Lakshmi, you can have like Diana, like every pantheon has a specific intention or energy, and they've given that energy, they've given it an anthropomorphic form, they've given it a person. So you have a war god in every aspect, every pantheon. You have a love god and goddess in every pantheon.
Yes.
So for me, it's all energy. That's the way I look at it. My personal look is it's all energy. We just call it a different name because we speak a different language in each of those cultures.
Oh, I love.
See,
That
so
makes
like
so much
it's all the same. It's all the same energy. And in the Christian faith, it's all one. They've put all that energy into one God, right?
Right.
But in Catholicism, then you have all the saints. So there's your intentions.
Right.
When you're looking for something or you're praying for something, you pray to Anthony. When you're praying for your pets,
can't find your keys.
Yeah, like no, I mean that.
Right. You
right.
have things that you find stuff.
It's and that Catholicism was the closest to paganism.
And you're right.
First religion. So it still has those witchy aspects, the idols and the little saints and all that, right?
Yes.
Then you move to Christianity, which is a little bit, or to Protestantism,
right,
a little bit further removed. Take out more of the stuff I like, the
ritual, yes.
Right. You take out, and now you have that. So really, you've seen the evolution of Christianity go from paganism to Catholicism to Protestantism. All you've done is kind of, I feel like, suck the soul out, stripped all that,
and then only the priest and the high people are able to do the rituals and work with the oils and pray and get guidance.
And I don't like that.
Then we cut all that out and we do it ourselves.
I never did any of that. I started from the beginning and my practice didn't evolve into an organized religion. The way I grew up is just, it's very natural. It's my toes in the dirt, my fingers in the dirt, crystals, herbs, color correspondences. That's my practice.
And I just think of like Jesus was my first pantheon,
I mean, but really, like,
I mean, there was a connection there, you know what I'm saying? And
you could put Jesus in that love energy completely.
Right.
So, for me, it's just universal love energy. And I can relate to other people because whatever language they're speaking, whatever God they're speaking about, I recognize that energy. It's all the same to me. And so that's how I grew up. So there was never anything for me to unlearn or, that doesn't fit.
Or tell somebody that they're wrong. And that's not right.
Because I feel everybody's right. Everybody's path is right. As long as you're not hurting anyone or anything.
Right.
It's all okay.
Yes. I grew up actually in my grandmother was Baptist, Southern Baptist, but I grew up in a church called the Worldwide Church of God. So we were considered a cult. So we are considered, it's no longer disbanded. But what was interesting is we viewed everybody else who celebrated Christmas and all that those were all pagan holidays.
Because they are.
We went back to the Old Testament and I did Days of Unleavened Bread and we fasted and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of understand. I was made fun of in school because I didn't celebrate Christmas. So I was ostracized in society, being different. So I'm comfortable with it now.
You've always felt different, so you might as well be different.
Yes, I've always felt different. It's just that fear of still, you don't mess with things, you don't invite in spirits. We had an exorcism done.
That's actually not, that is smart. You don't invite in spirits.
Right.
This isn't willy-nilly. When you practice, especially anything with the spiritual world, there is a way to do it safely and an ethically way to do it. There is, you cast a circle, a magical circle that keeps everything in the circle. You only invite in good spirits, Like, so there is a way to do it. You don't,
right.
There,
When we
there's
do our work. It's
a
in
very, it's a
perfect love and
responsible.
perfect trust, and yes, and to harm none. Like it's all for highest good, harming none, always.
And so it's nothing to play with. So there was an aspect of that, like, yeah, don't mess with it.
Right.
It's not don't mess with it. It's don't mess with it irresponsibly.
I was talking yesterday. I was with Amanda and a group of people, and we were talking about, how when you're opening doors, and that's what you're doing, and when you're inviting in spirits or ancestors or whatnot, angels, whatever, you're opening that door, and you have to remember when you're done to close that door. Because this is real. It's not we're not pretending that you open pathways to different realms and things come in if you allow them to. And so, it's there are dangers.
And it's funny because you're I could see you squirm and your uncomfortableness, but also that's also your perception, your history, where you come from, what you learned early on, shaped your perception of that being like, ooh, scary,
I'm always right. I mean, I don't know where to go with that, but meaning it's like, I know that I have abilities. Well, everybody has abilities.
Exactly.
It's just
either you forget them. I feel like kids remember them. Kids, we always think of children as so magical, and they can like, kids see fairies and kids, and then they unlearn it. Like, we're all magical beings, all of us, everybody. But as you get to adults, it's kind of like you unlearn it, almost kind of like that Peter Pan thing, kind of syndrome.
And you have to go with your comfortability. We're making our words again. Comfortability. But you know what I'm saying? Like, don't push it. If something makes you feel uncomfortable, trust that gut feeling. Our senses are null and void these days. Like, we're numbed from the air that we breathe to the water that we drink. Our senses are numb. Our brain function, our body function. So we're kind of suppressed in those ways, but you have to take your time, and you have to trust your gut. Listen to that voice, listen to that, hey, don't do that, or it's okay to be scared and do it a little bit at a time, but take your time, set your own pace. Like,
it's a journey.
Everybody's in a hurry too. Like, take your time and enjoy it.
There's no finish line.
It's that when you were talking about you opening doors of channels and knowing to protect yourself, it kind of scares me of like, oh, I mean,
but then maybe that means you're just not ready yet.
Right.
Your body will tell you when you're ready. Like, you will know when you're ready
and learn how to protect yourself.
And that also may not be something that you enjoy doing. That may be something maybe you only do in a group sense with somebody else leading.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's,
I
don't think everything, this is all bits and bobs. You don't have to, it's not like you don't have to do it all to be a true whatever, or you don't, you can practice what makes you comfortable.
And not do what don't.
If that part of like witchcraft doesn't make you comfortable, then that doesn't have to be your part. It's not like, I think it's not an all or nothing thing. There's so many different aspects of this, and it's whatever fits into your life, because it's not a religion. It's a way of life.
Yes.
It's just a way to practice your life.
Yeah, I feel comfortable like bringing in, and I have done this. I mean, asked my ancestors that, that I safely feel comfortable to just bring things to my mind.
Yeah.
But it's just that thought of, but then am I leaving, now that you've mentioned that, am I leaving the door open for somebody else to come in?
So all you have to do is to add to that sentence, right?
Yeah. What would you?
So you're saying, I'm calling in my ancestors to guide me through the situation.
Yes.
Like, you would just, all those, you would just say something like,
when you're done, you honor them and be grateful, and then you release them. If it's your will to stay. If it's your will to go. you know, and then I do a clearing and balancing, you know, of my chakras and myself, and ground. Some people ground by just putting their hands on the ground. Some people you can eat after, you know, if it's a meditation or a prayer or a circle, when you're opening and inviting in, you're creating a space. So you might want to do a little bit of grounding afterwards.
Like in Reiki, you know how after a Reiki, you're a Reiki practitioner, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Y'all, I'm a everything metaphysical virgin. Okay. Krista, my sister's the Reiki.
Got it. I love it so much.
I don't know what a chakra is. I don't know.
We got a virgin on our hands, Christy.
Somebody needs that cherry pot.
I don't know. I mean, look,
you gotta come hang out with us at Jack's Inn, man.
Yeah,
you gotta just come and chill and hang out. And
gave me this.
Oh my gosh, there's a Golden Girls deck.
Yeah. Okay. Look,
I need that.
I
in my
got
life.
so scared I almost got rid of it because of the fear of, I have a, you know.
Girl, I got 10 decks.
Spirit talks to you no matter what you're reading.
Yeah.
Just like you get your messages from the Bible, I get my message. I could get it off the back of a carton of juice.
Yeah.
If I'm asking a question or a tree limb.
Yeah. Or a bus goes by and has an advertisement on it that gives you a message. Like, it's messages are messages, and it's how they're received, and it's what you do with the information. I think that you're finding that all the things that you were told were bad your whole life. Right. You're realizing it's not so much that they were bad, it's just that they would give you a window into information that wasn't controlled by the people that were in the head of your church. Yeah. They didn't want you having information that they didn't control. Right. It's a lot of fear and control. Fear is control. And this is my own personal opinion about religion, is that it's specifically Christianity, is that it's fear-based, it's oppressive, and these are my own opinions, and I don't want to offend you, but I'm not offended. That's why that's my trigger. Like, Christianity is a trigger for me. Like, it's a trigger when I see like ultra Christian people, I automatically, and that's my judgment, I think, oh my gosh, they're not going to be good people. Isn't that funny? And they think the total same of me because I'm not Christian. Right. But if they really followed the way of Jesus, it would be a very different religion.
Now, that's why I couldn't do organized religion. I realized when I was going to a Baptist church that we say that we're supposed to be sharing the gospel, but nobody has shared the gospel with me since I've walked in this place. Mm-hmm. So, and I realized I had friends, I was making friends with a Hindu, best of friends, in Clinton, great. And I'm thinking, I don't see them out meeting these people in the parks and just talking to them like I am. If I'm really supposed to be sharing Christ with everybody, why isn't everybody in the church doing this? But I don't believe in all this heaven and stuff anyway, because I was brought up different. So I'm just saying, I feel comfortable a little bit because that's what my maternal ancestry was. Mm-hmm. But my granny set a great example to not judge other people and to just say that, honey, when we'd ask a question, honey, I really don't know. Just read your Bible. That's all she'd tell me. So I was nurtured in that, I guess the same way y'all's ancestors were, just go with this is what I've done. So just go with that and don't. Anyway, I didn't mean for this to turn.
No, I love we're sharing. This is a sharing circle.
Our ancestors are a very important part of our practice. I mean, we honor our ancestors. They have paved the way before us. They paved the road that we're walking on, and it's up to us to keep walking down that road, Yes. And take what's good that they've given us.
Right.
And I also believe in ancestral DNA knowledge. I'll go even further and not just talk about spiritual knowledge, but ancestral DNA. No, really, like,
Ooh,
just
tell
like
me
when you
about
think
that.
about animals, right? And so how do newborn wolves or animals have that intuition? How do they know what to do, right? We're part of that same animal kingdom. We have that intuition. We have that ancestral knowledge in our gut. Your gut brain. Listen to your gut. That's a thing. They say listen to your gut.
Yeah.
It's because that knowledge is in there. Our ancestors' knowledge is in there. So I feel like when you open yourself up to all possibilities, just information in general, you can weed out what you want to take and what you want to absorb. And I don't know, it doesn't resonate with me. I'll leave that over here and take all that. And just know that there's knowledge deep within you, that you already have that knowledge. And if you just allow it to be, then there'll be things that you're like, why do I know that? Where did I read that? Those are things that I think come to you.
Did that plant just talk to me?
Those are things that, if you allow yourself to be in a space and use the knowledge that you have, and just open yourself up to the world. Like, knowledge comes from all different realms, and just you can accept it or not. And then that's how I live my life. Like, everything is sentient. Grass, trees, plants, animals, that rock, that, like, everything has energy. Sorry.
This is a good chance to take a break. We are going to continue this conversation in part 2, which will be releasing soon. So make sure to like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us here on YouTube at Metaphysical MS. You can also catch our podcasts as well as find out more information on our website. That is metaphysicalms.com, metaphysical.ms.com. Let's check back in with Kelly and Willow. Where can people get more information and connect up with you guys?
Jack Zen Healing Arts Center. The owners are Gina and Jason Daniels, some of the most beautiful people ever. We love you. They're not our bosses. They allow us to work with them. It's awesome. It's beautiful. But yeah, they started a flotation place that we have 2 flotation tanks, which are really awesome. It's like you're floating in magnesium water. It's
Epsom salts.
Yes. Wow. It's beautiful. And we also have massage, and we also have Reiki. But yeah, our bosses, they went and floated, and I think Jason really fell in love with it. And so they kind of dropped everything they were doing and opened up a flotation center. There's 6 years, one of those stories about doing what you love.
Yeah.
And they opened this store, and it's become such a greater thing than just a flotation place, which that's awesome. But we have the massage therapy. We offer Reiki, energy work. We have a amethyst biomat. Everything is calm and zen there. We have art programs that are influenced by floating. You can enter these art programs and get free floats for art, and music too. I think they just added that as well. And our one of our bosses, Gina, is a Reiki master, and she taught us Reiki, and she teaches classes as well. And then we do she has paint and sips, like intentional paints. You can come in and bring a sip if you'd like, and we do it's like heart-centered
ritualistic painting. So painting with intention.
Oh, wow.
You start by writing affirmations on the your canvas, and then we kind of go a little step by step, and everybody leaves with something completely different. So the theme may be bear energy, but you may leave with a painting that isn't even of a bear. It's just what kind of came out of you.
Or a fox.
And so we've got that, and we're actually partnered with Matt Castile of Wormworks, and in Midtown we're having Vibe Fest this October 29th. Normally Vibe Fest is our Earth Day celebration, but because of COVID, the last couple of years we didn't have it. And then we had an upsurge of cases around March. So we ended up having Vibe Fest instead of April, where we would have it around Earth Day. We're having it in October this year. And Vibe Fest is just a celebration. It's a music festival. We're having vendors. It's just environmental conscious information and healing modalities. So there's going to be a healing tent with like Reiki and massage, different vendors, vegan food trucks. It's going to be at the Midtown Depot right there on Livingston in Midtown in Jackson on October 29th. It's going to start off with like community-based yoga. We'll have a yoga with by Scotta Brady and DJ Don Juan. If you're familiar, he's a great DJ, an ambient DJ. He's going to be accompanying her with some beautiful music for yoga. And then we'll have a group meditation by our favorite William Michael Kelly. And we've got, after that, we'll have music. We've got 6 or 7 musical guests coming, vending, food, drinks. It's going to be amazing. And normally it's all earth centered, so environmental centered. We've got that October 29th. And then November 5th, we've got the Temple of Witchcraft is having their Samhain celebration. And that's going to be open to the public. And it's going to be in Canton. At what it's Fields. I'm looking at she's pulling up the information.
Yeah, and I'll give you a link that you can put
but so the Temple of Witchcraft will be having their Samhain celebration November 5th. Yeah, there'll be vendors.
It's like a mini festival. We're gonna have presenters. Sandra Williams will be there teaching a class, and then we'll have a ceremony and ritual. And then we'll have a fire and food is provided, and there'll be a storyteller there too. Ashira Mayim. So it's going to be a really fun day. It's out at some friends' land. It'll be outside. The vendors will be inside, but it's an outside thing, and it's on a lake. It's like out in the woods. It's beautiful.
So kind of like what you call a harvest festival, right?
What was the date? What was that date?
November 5th.
Okay.
From noon to 11 p.m.
Yes.
We'll send you a link so you can link that in the story.
Or they can look on Mississippi Pagan Meet and Greet on Facebook.
Okay, great.
Mississippi Pagan Meet and Greet. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's our circle.
And Vibe Fest Jackson, I'll get you the link to that. Or you can just go to the Jackzen website. It's JAX-ZEN.com. Yeah, and that'll take you right to all the information for Vibe Fest.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for spending your time with me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Sorry we were all over the place.
No, that's fine. We're going to do this again if y'all are willing sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. See you later. Bye.